Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new episode of The World Today. We are going to discuss, as usual, plenty of headlines published on national and international websites, and we are going to focus on our local and regional arenas. Before we start, let me first welcome our dear guest live here in the studio, Dr. Amany, Bassyouny, Professor of Mass Comm. Thank you very much for being with us, ma'am.
Thank you.
And if you permit me, we are going to start immediately. As I said, we do have plenty of headlines, and our first headlines are coming from Al-Ahram Online, where we read, Egypt's cabinet approves $2.5 billion grant from Saudi Arabia. Egypt's cabinet approved a $2.5 billion grant from Saudi Arabia, which was initially signed during King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud's visit to Cairo on the 10th of April, according to Al-Ahram Arabic News website. Egypt and Saudi Arabia signed final loan agreements worth over $24 billion during King Salman's visit, as Egyptian Minister of International Cooperation Sahar Nasr confirmed to Al-Ahram Online earlier. Ma'am, regarding the regional situation, we do have a lot of challenges facing not only Egypt, the Middle East in general, and there are two main ways to be accurate to combat terrorism, whether via development or via security, and both should go parallel. How do you see the economic cooperation between Egypt or among the Arab states in general, and in specific between Egypt and the Gulf nations?
Well, definitely the economic cooperation between Egypt and the Gulf areas would allow the economic situation to prosper within the next few years. Definitely we cannot measure the results now. We have a history with different Arab countries regarding economic cooperation, and it's continuing. The most important aspect, I believe, in this particular grant, that it's dedicated to developmental projects. Many grants that we received before actually were for training and others for technical development and so on and so forth, but very few were dedicated to real major developmental projects like the new capital of Egypt and
infrastructure. I was just editing this piece of news very late in the evening yesterday, and it was not only from Saudi Arabia, by the way. There was another grant from Kuwait, and it was focusing on housing, sanitary drainage, the new capital, infrastructure. But you know, ma'am, when it comes to these kinds of projects, the Egyptian citizen, the layman in the street, is not going to feel that much that his standard of living is getting better. I mean, many would ask...
Daily, we are talking about daily crisis that the average citizen is facing with the basic needs. Yes, definitely, but this is not the road to development of a country. Basic infrastructure, our infrastructure has been going through lots of pressure from the overpopulation and the lack of renovations and maintenance for years and years. And now, if we're not going to develop this, we cannot have actual cities built on that, or actual roads and actual transportation and so on and so forth. So it's definitely basic to start with this right now.
And it's our role as media to spread awareness among people, to say how much it's important, as you've kindly mentioned, to start with this, or the renovation of this.
Definitely, we need to follow the functions of mass media. The functions of mass media are to inform, to educate, to entertain, and to give surveillance of the environment around the citizens. And this is definitely our role. This has been the role of mass media in all countries. And of course, educating the citizen of what comes as a priority for the country is a definite function of mass media and Egyptian mass media. On the other hand, it's good that we have our media opening up to the average citizens in order to voice their complaints about the problems that they face in their daily lives, so that their voice would be heard too.
Yes, ma'am, amen to that. Taking you to the Gulf today, where we read, French ship joins black box search. Egypt's air accidents chief said on Thursday that a vessel provided by a French company, Al-Simar, which specializes in marine wreckage search, will join within hours the hunt for the black boxes from Crash Egypt Air Flight MS-804. This was a little bit earlier. The contract was signed and the company already joined the search operation. Ma'am, let's try to take a positive side of the coin. Of course, the airplane crash is a tragedy, and we lost 66 people. And there was a candle vigil which took place yesterday with the participation of hundreds of Egyptian citizens. On top of them was the Minister of Civil Aviation, His Excellency Engineer Sharif Fathi. But regarding how the international community reacted, how Egypt received condolences, how our allies from all Europe, from big powers, in addition, of course, to our Arab allies, tried to all the time show support and show that they are ready and keen to participate in the rescue or the search operations. How do you see this as an example or as a message, to be accurate, sent whether to the Egyptians or to the international community?
Well, definitely it was a major tragedy, but couldn't be helped. It just happened. And we lost 66 Egyptians. And the way that the crisis was managed, I believe it was managed in a proper way, as except for the first two statements, I believe all the statements gave people all the information that were available to the authorities day by day, and we also received help from different countries without asking for them. And this was the good thing about it, is that it showed that this tragedy unites the different countries, regardless whether we have political agreement with them or political interests with them.
Yes.
Such tragedy unites the different countries, and I believe the crisis was managed properly, and still we have no clue of what caused the crash, or I believe the scenario of terrorist attack was actually overruled, because no terrorist group announced their claim for that disaster. So we are left with two or more scenarios that we are going to find out more about them when we find the black boxes.
If it was intelligence agencies' operation, nobody is going to claim responsibility.
Definitely.
But we are not going to jump into conclusions, and we are going to wait till the end of the investigations. But till the moment, all scenarios are valid. Till the moment, because without the black boxes, we will never be able to decide. Before jumping into another or diving into another main headline, I'd like, whenever you were talking about the proper way of handling the crisis, and of course I should see the opportunity whenever a professor of mass comm is here. We have many press conferences, but in these press conferences in specific, or the statements, whether said by Prime Minister Engineer Sharif Ismail or by His Excellency Sharif Fathi, our Minister of Civil Aviation, what was ear-catching, if this is a proper way to describe it, is the accurate use of words. I mean, till the moment it's missing. It's not hijacked. Till the moment it's not crashed. We are going to say in detail what's going on whenever we do have proper or accurate data. Even, I do remember well that one of the correspondents was trying to lead Mr. Fathi to another field of discussion. He said exactly, this question leads to nothing. We are here to answer good questions. How do you see this? Or how have you evaluated our performance as Egyptian government?
Well, in terms of communication standards, yes, we were up to the international standards in meeting the quick responses to giving statements regarding the vanishing of the plane in the first hours, and the announcement of the plane and of the plane disappearance, and so on and so forth, giving coordinates and handling the families of the victims, the passengers who were on board that plane. I would say that we have actually learned all throughout the way from previous experiences with international media, and this is basically the nature of media conferences, that you will have certain leading questions, and this is important that you stick to the facts until you have proper investigations of the facts.
Amen to that, ma'am. Taking you to the Daily Star, where we continue to read, U.S.-backed forces battle Daesh near Syria's stronghold, Iraqi city. Kurdish and Arab fighters, aided by American soldiers, battled Daesh north of its Syrian stronghold of Raqqa as Iraqi forces edged towards the extremist hill city of Fallujah. The twin offensives are two of the most significant ground assaults against the extremists since they declared self-styled so-called caliphate straddling Iraq and Syria back in the year 2014. Now, regarding what's going on in Syria and Iraq, it's a long story. But let me focus here a little bit on Iraq rather than Syria. Because unfortunately, there are divisions among the Iraqis. What Muqtada al-Sadr and his followers are doing, invading the Green Zone, invading even the headquarters of Haidar al-Abadi, Iraqi Prime Minister, what was happened in the parliament. I mean, a lot of chaos. Some analysts would say that whenever Iraqis are demonstrating against corruption and against their own government right now, this is not going to end for their best interest. This is going to work only for the best interest of the Daesh terrorist group. Unite now, take Daesh out of your country now, and after that, think about corruption and think about who is going to lead. And others would say no, both should go hand by hand or parallel. How do you see the situation?
Well, definitely the Arab societies and the Arab countries were divided among themselves, and the conflicts appeared on the surface. The conflicts among the segments of the same people, the same Iraqi people, the same Syrian people, the same Libyan people. And the main cause of this, basically because they are not convinced of a national leadership that would meet their needs or demands, or that would listen or take them into consideration. So I would say they have to go parallel. They cannot just unite now and then find out who's going to rule later. We need to find agreement. It's more about political negotiations. It's more about representation of different sects within the same society. And this applies to basically Libya, Syria, and Iraq.
Whenever you have mentioned the other countries, Syria, Libya, and finally Iraq, I'm not going to say all, but at least many political analysts would say that all are facing the same scenario, or it's the same side of the coin. There are terrorists, there are mercenaries, to be accurate, paid to fight, and it's the wealth of those countries are stolen completely. Until the moment, nobody knew who is buying the oil of Libya, for example, or of Iraq. But yet, as if the Arabs or the peoples of those three countries in specific do not learn the lesson. As if they continue on just being that much divided and not to look except for their personal interests and not for the best interest of the country. Iraq, Syria, and Libya, they are not in good terms after Saddam, or even if Bashar disappeared, or after Muammar Gaddafi. What should the Arabs do? I mean, is it the joint forces? Is it political solutions? Is it diplomacy? Is it the Arab League? Is it the UN? What?
Well, it's definitely not a military solution.
Number one.
It's negotiation, and actually all these different sects and tribes in those societies need to sit together to find a solution, a political solution. It can never be military. It would only increase the gap between what those countries aim to achieve as stability and a proper political regime and a proper national sovereignty. So it would not happen unless all the sects are represented in one single political regime, national one, and definitely all their interests taken into consideration. We would be naive to think that this is not a power or struggle over power and authority. So again, we need to, the Arabs have little to do with that, actually. It has to be the people of those countries to decide that they wish to come in terms.
The Arabs, ma'am, because unfortunately, if the Arabs do not interfere, the foreigners, the Western countries, the big powers will interfere.
They are interfering.
And
they are.
And unfortunately, what happened with NATO in Libya, for example, ended with a complete chaotic situation. Why we do not learn the lesson?
Again, it's the game of the superpowers.
It's the game of the superpowers. I like this, by the way. And the superpowers are there in the G7 saying now, after years of war, that they are calling for urgency in ending hostilities. These were the statements said in the World Bulletin by the participating countries in the G7 summit. A concluding statement from the last day of the G7 summit has highlighted the need for an increase in urgent help for countries hosting refugees. Who was in the first place the reason behind those asylum seekers or the refugees? The G7, the big powers, economy, now and only now they knew that their interests, economic interests, are going to be hurt by the hostilities and by the asylum seekers and by the refugees.
Mm-hmm. True. It's the game of politics.
Once again.
Again.
Okay.
So we are talking about short-term benefits and long-term benefits.
Yeah.
Actually, again, the superpowers did not realize the magnitude of the refugees problem and how it's going to affect their economies and their societies. And it's actually like a snowball effect. It's affecting everybody. And of course, they caused it. And now they don't know how to handle the consequences of this refugees problem. It's not only the economy of countries that would be hurt, it's the peace of societies that's being disturbed. There is this call for hostility in many European countries against the refugees that were hosted in those countries, and they are being kept away in camps as not to mingle with the society. And this is there are fears of the refugees that they would take over some countries, especially with low populations and so on and so forth, or that they would enforce their own traditional or conservative ideas or values on those societies, which is again a fear that we can understand, but it's a matter of how are we going to solve the issue? Are we going to solve? We are the international community. We are the G7. We are.
Let me take it from here. Don't you think that this is going only to be income paper? As many things took place before, as many UN resolutions were released and not implemented on the ground, because it's not just a matter of having a final communique saying that we urge those people to return to peace. We want stability and security. What are you going to do, guys? Because there are a list of steps which should be taken. If you can just list some of the, or give us some detail about this list.
Well, definitely it's more of a political issue and alliances among countries that serve the needs of these countries or that serve the economic prosperity of countries, and they tend to protect their interests everywhere in all the countries, whether it is in Europe or in Southeast Asia or in the Arab countries. And again, I cannot blame the international community because we gave space for this problem.
We have given them that chance.
To be with that size and volume in our Arab countries, and we actually gave in to those who worked on increasing the conflicts among the same people of the same country, and to sponsor terrorist activities and to provide militias with weapons and arms and so on and so forth. Actually, I cannot blame them. We gave them the space to do that as Arabs. So the list would definitely be difficult for the superpowers to impose, because again it's going to harm its economic interests.
But the superpowers are working for the best interests of themselves, not working for the best interests of any other body. And as my dear guest was talking about the game of politics, it was a Monday, and it was in August, and it was in 1945, and it was 8 a.m. Cairo their local time. And it was the destiny of a whole city which was decided by one plane. It was Hiroshima. Hiroshima, exactly, it vanished. But now, and since the enemies of yesterday are the allies of today, Obama is in Japan. President Barack Obama said that he was preparing to visit Hiroshima. On Friday, he visited Hiroshima already to emphasize that decades after the end of the Cold War, the world still faces the threat of nuclear war. He's so nice, and when it was said that he should just solve one problem or a crisis, whether the Iranian nuclear issue or the Israeli-Palestinian cause, and in fact he decided to go to Muhammad Javad Zarif and Hassan Rouhani. It's his choice. And now he is in Japan. As you've kindly mentioned, ma'am, it's the game of politics. Nothing surprising?
No surprises in that manner. Well, actually, Obama is acting for the idea that America is still supportive of peace issues and works for the best interest of the world and hopes for a nuclear-free world so that we won't witness the dangers that were caused by the use of nuclear powers or nuclear weapons and so on and so forth. So it's, again, the same idea that has been going on for years and years. What actually is being planned behind closed doors is not the thing that's being announced to the world media. So his visit
Dr.
to
Amany, I like
Hiroshima,
your diplomatic way of saying things, but for me it's one word: hypocrisy.
Politics is all about hypocrisy.
I enjoyed my time, but unfortunately we are running out of time. Dr. Amany Bassyouny, Professor of Mass Comm, thank you very much for your input, ma'am. And this is the first time, but inshallah it's not going to be the last. We are going to leave you, ma'am, with a promise to see you again in another episode of The World Today.
Thank you very much.
Well, by this we come to the end of this very special episode of The World Today. Till we meet again same time on Nile TV International with another crew. Thank you very much for being with us. This is Nermina Abdurrahman signing off.